but they're slow by comparison. It's like as an example, with the 100%, I was able to do it instantaneously when we were threatened by the rare earths, as you know, the magnets. And I did it instantaneously. It was a matter of seconds. And it was a matter of seconds that I got a phone call, let's work this out. We would have had not nearly the defense that we had. It would be a shame. It would be somewhat catastrophic for our country, I have to be honest with you. I don't want to get too much involved, but what we've done, we're taking in hundreds of trillions of dollars. If you take a look at the numbers we're at $17 trillion right now. We're going to be at $21 trillion, about $21 trillion by the time I've finished my first year. Biden, as an example, the Biden administration was at less than $1 trillion for 4 years. We're going to be at $21 trillion for 1 year. In the history of the world, there's never been a country that's done that. Not China, not the U.S., not anybody. And a lot of that is because of the tariffs and the fact that the president is a competent president that knows how to use them. And I use them for national defense. Of the 8 wars I ended, I would say 5 or 6 were ended because of tariffs. I give you an example. If you take a look at India and Pakistan, they started to fight. They're 2 nuclear nations. They were shooting each other. 8 planes were shot down. There was 7, now it was 8, because the one that was sort of shot down is now abandoned. And 8 planes were shot down. And I said, listen, if you guys are going to fight, I'm going to put tariffs on you. And they both went, they were not happy about that. And within 24 hours, I settled the war. If I didn't have tariffs, I wouldn't have been able to settle that war. So it's great national defense, and you have to be quick moving. You can't wait around for months and months while you're doing studies and you're doing all of this, or go back to Congress. Look at Congress. We can't even get a continuation from Congress. Think of that. How would you have to go back to Congress you have to do this spur of the moment? Because just so you understand, we're hit spur of the moment. Other countries have used tariffs to absolutely, they would have destroyed us. If I didn't come along, our country would be destroyed right now. The tariffs have made us rich in terms of national security. They've made us secure. And, if you have economic strength, that's also, if you have a lack of economic strength, that's national security also. But we have great national security because of those tariffs. So I think it would be devastating if we lost that ruling.
But before issues a ruling, it could be several weeks. Are you going to lay out any new additional tariffs before?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to hope that we win. I can't imagine that anybody would do that kind of devastation to our country. We'd have to pay back trillions of dollars. We've taken in trillions. We haven't taken in billions. We've taken in trillions of dollars. We've made trade deals based on that give us, as an example, European Union, $950 billion. Japan, $650 billion. South Korea, $350 billion. Without this, we're not talking about that kind of money. And they're okay. They're satisfied. They love us. I just left. They all love us. So it's not like we're such bad people. But they were doing it to us until I came along. Now they don't do it to us. We do it to them a little bit. But if they took this away, we would be defenseless against tariffs from other countries.
Mr. President, on employer plans and individual plans who also don't have access to GLP-1s, what can you do to make those insurers and PBMs get these same prices so they can put access for those
I'll
folks?
ask Oz or Bobby that question. It's a good question.
Absolutely. Many Americans receive their insurance through the commercial markets. The companies have committed to ensure that at worst, prices are at MFN on GLP-1s and are committed to continue to negotiate those prices down based on volume, just as they do in any other instance. Another really interesting thing we're seeing, though, is that commercial plans and PBMs increasingly are enabling access for their beneficiaries, their patients, to make purchases in the cash market and then still receive coverage under their accumulators and their deductibles. And so we're building that capacity in. Absolutely. Trump RX is being built to enable just that behavior and drive transparency in the process.
President, there are so many Americans that report tremendously positive results from these drugs. What real-world impact do you think this will be? Is there an estimate on how many Americans may now take these drugs? And also about the informed consent on side effects. There are lawsuits against these companies that some people experienced damage to their gut health, vision loss, and other potentially serious side effects there. So how will we ensure Americans are able to make the best choice of the risk versus the rewards?
Well, I'll let them speak about the side effects, but I've heard about very little side effects with respect to these drugs. I mean, it's all positive, and that's usually not the case. I mean, usually you hear bad things. You see these crazy commercials on television where they tell you 15 different things that can go wrong, and then you're supposed to buy it. Very few, but I'll let you handle that.
At a high level, 1 in 3 people who can hear my voice are eligible for these medications. That's the magnitude of impact. And we believe, just to reemphasize, we will actually save the American taxpayer money if people use these drugs appropriately for the duration for which they're indicated. There are always going to be side effects of anything. Anything strong enough to help you is strong enough to hurt you. The question is the trade-off worth it? We know the ravaging risks of obesity and all downstream issues ranging from diabetes and hypertension to renal failure, dementia, heart disease, my specialty. But I'll ask Dave Ricks from Lilly to maybe start off because he can give an honest appraisal of potential risks people should be aware of. There's no free cheese.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I mean, today, as you may know, there's about 8 million people benefiting from the 2 companies' medications. This new announcement will make that tens of millions that could benefit from it. So it's a huge improvement. But as the previous question, we need commercial plans and other insurers to step into this arrangement. I think probably both companies will work hard to make sure that happens. Yeah, as Dr. Oz said, no drug that can help you has no side effects. Most of them are well known. We've been using this class of medications for nearly 20 years. And that's why it's important that patients go to their doctor and decide together whether this is right for them, and their doctor knows their medical history and has the information about these medications. But we're confident in the safety, but there's always some precautions we should have, and people's own medical histories matter in that decision.
And are there any estimates for... Yes.
What I would like to say is also that, of course, in my speech I made a comment that what happened today allows us and Lilly to provide medications to millions and millions more than they are getting it today. Today, a lot of those patients are trying to go out there and take the knockoff versions of these medications, mainly because they were cheaper than our medication. With the reduction of the price, hopefully many of these patients don't need to choose their safety over their wallet and now are able to find the real thing at a very decent price.
Is that a big problem for you? Knockoffs? Sounds like it might be.
It has been, yes. It has been. But on the other hand, of course, patients have to be able to afford it. So it has been also our job to make sure that affordability.
Are the knockoffs dangerous?
The knockoffs are not FDA. The API, the raw ingredient that goes into them, are not FDA approved. So nothing is as good as the original.
Yeah, I know that.
Yesterday in the Supreme Court, Chief Justice Roberts said that tariffs are taxes and that they're paid by Americans. He said this pretty clearly. And yet you're saying that this money is rolling in from other countries. How do you square those two?
Well, it's coming in because they've charged us. You know, those same countries that you talk about are charging us massive amounts of money. If you look at the tariffs over the years that were put on our heads, there's a reason we're $38 trillion owed. Now that money's going to start coming down. But we had presidents that didn't know how to use tariffs. We had presidents that had no understanding of business. But if you take a look at what's happened to us, every country charges tariffs. China, the European Union was brutal. They charged us tariffs, not only tariffs, they charged us tariffs so we couldn't sell cars there. We couldn't sell our product. They didn't want our agriculture. They didn't want our cars. Now they're taking our cars, and now they're taking our agriculture. You know, far more than money. It really is a defensive mechanism. If we didn't have tariffs, we would be unable to defend ourselves.
So then do you agree then that Americans are paying those tariffs?
I think, no, I don't agree. I think that they might be paying something, but when you take the overall impact, the Americans are gaining tremendously. They're gaining through national security. Look, I'm ending war because of these tariffs. Americans would have to fight in some of these wars. They're gaining in national security. They're gaining in economics. They're gaining in so many different ways. And they're gaining in self-respect for our own country. Other countries used to laugh at us. They would charge us tariffs. Japan was charging us massive tariffs, and yet they wouldn't allow our cars to be sold in Japan. But they were selling 9 million cars here, but they wouldn't allow one car. Not one car was sold in Japan. They don't laugh at us anymore. This is really a matter of, this is national security. And by the way, going bankrupt is national security. You know, our country was really in trouble. Going bankrupt, and the difference between going bankrupt and thriving, that's also national security. When you go bankrupt, when you don't have any money, you have no national security. And we are thriving. I mean, all this money coming into our country that I told you about, the 17 trillion as of now, but it's going up rapidly. I was in Japan, and we have Toyota is coming in with $10 billion to build plants, operated by Americans, but building plants all over the United States. Well, they left. They took our plants. They sold cars in here without tariffs. They sold cars. We didn't charge them anything. They destroyed our auto industry. We lost 50%, 54% of our auto industry to other. We used to, if you go back into the 30s and 40s, we had 100% of the automobile business. Then it started getting chopped away. But Mexico, Canada, many countries, I mean, Canada fought us very hard. The ones that don't want us to win are foreign countries that we are able now to do very well with. Those are the ones that fight it. Those are maybe people that hate our country. I think it's the most important case maybe in the history of our country.
This has been a major achievement for your administration, targeting the segment of our population that needs it the most, that has the highest obesity rates. You're making it affordable. You are truly saving lives. That's coming from the viewers that we've had in that 1 hour that we took a little bit of a break. My question to you is, Walmart just pushed out a report that says this year's traditional Thanksgiving meal will cost 25% less than it did under the Biden administration, plus gas prices being down in the $2 region makes it more affordable to travel to grandma's house this Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. And it's not so much a question, it's a statement. I would have made the statement, but we have a lot of things happening, so I wouldn't necessarily have made it right now. So Walmart, to me, you know, that's AAA, came out that nobody going to influence them. I don't know them. But they just came out with a very powerful statement. They've done it for many years, that under the Biden administration, a Thanksgiving meal with all the trimmings cost 25% more. In other words, our Thanksgiving this year coming up will cost 25% less than sleepy Joe Biden's. Now, to me, that's better than anything there is. That's better than a poll. They've got everything included, from the trimmings and from the turkey and from everything, a lot of different items. It's 25% less this year than it was last year when he was so-called in charge. He wasn't in charge. The people around the desk were in charge. The auto pen was in charge. That is a big factor. And I was angry last night with the Republicans. They say, you don't talk about this stuff. Nobody talks about it. You know, I rely on a question from a reporter to get that out. We should be talking about it because they talk about affordability. They don't have affordability. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country under Biden. We had high gasoline prices at $4.50, $5 a gallon. They're going to be hitting $2 a gallon with me. They're getting close to $2 a gallon. And when gasoline goes down and energy goes down, everything else follows. What the Democrats do is they lie. We are the ones that have done great on affordability. They've done horribly on affordability. The only thing is they go out and they take commercials how under the Democrats you have affordability. It's just the opposite. We have much lower prices than they do. And we only have one thing, beef, because the cattle ranches are doing well. We're going to bring the beef prices down, and they understand that, even if we have to help them out. But the beef also is not a big difference, but every price is down. The biggest price is energy. We're at almost $2 for gasoline, and you take a look at where they were at $4.50, $5 for gasoline. And when gasoline and energy comes down, everything else follows. And I was so happy. Last night I said, I made a speech and then I get off the stage. I said, I feel like going up and saying it because I have a lot of respect for Walmart. And nobody's influencing Walmart. They came out and they said, Trump's Thanksgiving dinner, same things, is 25% less than Biden's. And we are the affordability one. We are the ones that have done a great job at affordability, not the Democrats. And yet we just lost a couple of elections. They were very Democrat areas. Maybe won't be full. They weren't very Democrat when I ran a year ago because I did well in those areas. But we just lost an election, they said, based on affordability. It's a con job by the Democrats.